If you search for Chiang Mai online, the image that appears is remarkably consistent. Quiet temple courtyards at dawn, narrow streets framed by old brick walls, cafes filled with soft light, potted plants, and laptops resting beside iced coffee, lantern festivals glowing against a dark sky. It's a city presented as gentle, welcoming, and easy to understand. For many travelers, that image feels accurate. Chiang Mai has long been marketed as Thailand's softer counterpart to Bangkok. Slower, calmer, more manageable. A place where visitors can ease into the country rather than confront it all at once. Over the years, this reputation drew backpackers looking to slow down, retirees searching for comfort, and digital nomads hoping to settle into a rhythm that felt sustainable. And to be clear, that version of Chiang Mai does exist. The temples are real, the cafes are busy, the old city still feels intimate, especially in the mornings before the heat sets in. Popular neighborhoods like Nimmenheimen continue to attract long-stay visitors, and on the surface, the city appears to be functioning much the way people expect it to. But that familiarity can be misleading. What most visitors experience is a carefully selected slice of the city, the parts designed to feel accessible, aesthetic, and comfortable. These areas are not artificial, but they are curated. They represent what Chiang Mai wants to show, not everything it contains. Step just a little beyond those familiar zones, and the mood begins to change. The streets grow quieter, buildings feel underused. Shops stay open, but without urgency. Neighborhoods exist where life seems paused rather than active, moving forward out of habit rather than momentum. There's no dramatic contrast, no sudden drop-off that signals you've crossed into a different Chiang Mai. Instead, the shift happens gradually. You notice fewer people lingering, more spaces that feel finished, but not fully occupied. A subtle sense that the city is carrying more than it lets on. This side of Chiang Mai isn't broken, and it isn't hidden on purpose. It simply doesn't align with the image that made the city famous. It doesn't fit neatly into a thumbnail or a travel reel. Life here continues as normal. Traffic still builds during rush hour. Schools open in the morning. Markets still operate, though sometimes at a slower pace. But beneath that routine, there's a weight that wasn't always present. A feeling that the city has grown, changed, and is still adjusting to what it has become. To understand Chiang Mai today, you have to resist the urge to see it only as a destination. You have to look at it as a city that lives beyond its reputation. And that's where this story begins. Not with what Chiang Mai shows you first, but with what it reveals when you stay long enough to notice what's missing, not just what's still there. For much of the last decade, Chiang Mai prepared itself for a future that seemed inevitable. More visitors, more long-term residents, more businesses built around the idea that growth would continue, slowly but steadily. The confidence behind that assumption can still be seen across the city today. New hotels rose along major roads. Condominiums appeared in clusters, especially near commercial areas and transportation routes. Co-working spaces, serviced apartments, and lifestyle cafes multiplied, each designed to meet the expectations of a growing international population. At the time, it all felt reasonable. Demand was visible. Streets were busy. Rental signs disappeared quickly. Then, gradually, the pace changed. What's striking about Chiang Mai now isn't abandonment, but excess. The city feels built for more people than are consistently here. You notice it in the evenings when large residential buildings show only a few scattered lights. You notice it in newly completed structures that look finished but strangely quiet. You notice it in commercial spaces that remain technically open but rarely full. This isn't a story of failure. It's a story of timing. Much of Chiang Mai's development happened in anticipation, not response. Businesses expanded based on projected demand rather than sustained certainty. When global travel slowed and long-stay patterns shifted, the city didn't collapse. It simply didn't fill in the way many expected. As a result, everyday life feels less dense than the infrastructure suggests it should be. Restaurants seat fewer customers at once. Shops open shorter hours. Service staff wait longer between interactions. The city still operates, but it does so at a reduced intensity. There's also a psychological effect to this kind of overcapacity. When spaces are designed for crowds that don't arrive, they begin to feel heavier. Not empty, exactly, but underused. The energy that comes from consistent activity is replaced by a quieter, more cautious atmosphere. For small business owners, this creates a delicate balance. Growth becomes risky. Expansion feels uncertain. Survival often depends on stability rather than ambition. Many businesses adapt by doing less. Fewer staff, limited offerings, tighter schedules, not because they want to, but because it's the only way to remain viable. Chiang Mai hasn't stopped moving forward, but it's no longer accelerating. The city now exists in a state of adjustment, recalibrating to a reality that doesn't match earlier expectations. Buildings remain, investments remain, but the momentum that once justified them has softened. In this space between intention and outcome, Chiang Mai reveals a side rarely discussed. A city that didn't overreach recklessly, but perhaps believed too strongly in a future that hasn't fully arrived, at least not yet. And that quiet gap between what was built and what is used shapes daily life more than most visitors ever realize. Tourism in Chiang Mai hasn't vanished. Planes still land throughout the day, hotels still check in the guests, markets still set up in the evenings, and tour vans still move through the city. On paper, the system is functioning, but the way tourism feels on the ground has changed. For a long time, Chiang Mai benefited from visitors who stayed, not just for a few nights, but for weeks or months. Travelers settled into routines. They learned neighborhoods, they returned to the same cafes, the same street stalls, the same walking routes. That kind of tourism created familiarity and momentum. It made the city feel lived in rather than passed through. Today, that pattern is less reliable. Many visitors now treat Chiang Mai as a short stop rather than a base. Stays are tighter, itineraries are fixed, and budgets are watched more closely. Travelers arrive with plans already made, moving efficiently between attractions before continuing on. The city becomes something to experience briefly, not inhabit. This shift may seem subtle, but its effects are widespread. Businesses built around long-term customers feel the difference immediately. Cafés designed for hours of sitting see faster turnover. Rental markets fluctuate unpredictably. Services that depend on consistency struggle to justify their size or staffing. There's also a noticeable change in rhythm. Instead of steady daily activity, tourism now comes in waves. Weekends feel busy, festivals feel crowded. Then the city quiets again. Weekdays stretch longer. Some areas remain active while others feel paused, waiting for the next surge. This uneven flow reshapes neighborhoods. Certain streets concentrate nearly all visible tourism activity, while adjacent areas fall silent. The city becomes patchy, lively in pockets, subdued everywhere else. For locals working in tourism, this creates uncertainty. Income becomes harder to predict. Staffing decisions are made cautiously. Businesses remain open, but with less confidence. The sense of stability that once came from a reliable tourist presence has softened. What's important is that this change isn't necessarily a failure of Chiang Mai as a destination. The city still offers what it always has: culture, food, history, and a slower pace of life. But global travel habits have shifted. Travelers move differently now. They compare more, plan more, and commit less. Chiang Mai still welcomes visitors warmly, but the relationship feels more transactional than it used to. There's less wandering, less accidental discovery, less time spent simply being in the city. As a result, Chiang Mai hasn't lost tourism. It's lost some of the continuity that made tourism feel like part of everyday life. The city still fills up, but it empties just as quickly. And in that cycle of arrival and departure, something essential fades quietly: the sense that people are staying long enough to belong. Between the tourists who pass through and the locals who remain, there's another group that shaped Chiang Mai for years and is now less visible. Long-stay foreigners, remote workers, retirees, and small entrepreneurs who once treated the city as a second home. Many of them didn't leave all at once. They adjusted first. Some shortened their stays, coming for a few months instead of settling in year-round. Others moved farther from the center, trading convenience for lower rent. A few closed small businesses that depended on steady foot traffic and consistency. Not because they failed, but because the equation changed. What's noticeable is how quietly this happened. There were no announcements, No visible turning point, just fewer familiar faces over time, fewer people renewing leases, fewer returning seasons. This group once gave Chiang Mai a sense of continuity. They weren't tourists, but they weren't locals either. They filled cafes on weekdays, supported small services, and created a feeling that people were staying, not just visiting. As their presence thinned, something subtle shifted. The city became more transient, more seasonal, less anchored. Chiang Mai didn't lose these people dramatically. It simply became harder for them to justify staying the way they once did. And that quiet adjustment set the stage for everything that followed. For years, Chiang Mai was known for something that rarely needed explanation. It was affordable in a way that felt comfortable, not limiting. Life here didn't require constant calculation. Rent was manageable, food was inexpensive, daily expenses stayed predictable. That affordability became part of the city's identity. Over time, that balance has shifted. The change didn't arrive suddenly, and it didn't announce itself. Prices crept up gradually, month by month, year by year. Rent increased, utility costs rose, transportation became slightly more expensive. Eating out, once an easy daily habit, began to feel like a choice that required thought. Individually, these increases may not seem dramatic, but together, they reshape how people live. For long-term residents, especially locals, the pressure is real. Wages have not risen at the same pace as expenses. Many households now spend a larger share of their income just maintaining the same standard of living they had before. The city feels more demanding, even as daily life appears unchanged from the outside. Foreign residents feel this shift too, especially those who originally chose Chiang Mai because it offered stability without excess. What once felt comfortably affordable now feels conditional. Budgets tighten, expectations adjust. Some stay but scale back. Others quietly leave, looking for places where the numbers make more sense. This tension doesn't show up in travel videos or short-term visits. Visitors still find Chiang Mai inexpensive compared to major global cities. But for those who live here, comparison works differently. The benchmark isn't London or New York, it's Chiang Mai itself, 5 or 10 years ago. As costs rise, compromises follow. People move farther from the city center. Businesses cut staff or reduce operating hours. Projects that once felt viable are postponed or abandoned. Growth becomes cautious. Risk feels heavier. What makes this situation complex is that Chiang Mai hasn't become expensive in an absolute sense. It has become more expensive relative to what it offers and what people earn. That distinction matters. The city continues to market itself internationally as a lifestyle destination, a retirement haven, a creative hub. But the economic reality underneath that image doesn't always support the promise. For many residents, especially those without outside income, the gap between perception and reality is growing. Chiang Mai still feels livable, but it no longer feels effortless. And when a city built its reputation on ease, even small increases carry emotional weight. They signal a shift in who the city is designed for and who must adapt to stay. This rising cost of staying doesn't define Chiang Mai's future on its own, but it quietly shapes decisions every day. Who settles here, who leaves, and who can afford to imagine a long-term life in the city at all? There is a part of Chiang Mai's yearly cycle that rarely appears in travel guides or promotional videos. It doesn't fit the image of a calm, outdoor-oriented city, and it interrupts the rhythm that many people come here for. Locals know it well. Long-term residents plan around it. Short-term visitors often encounter it by accident. Burning season changes Chiang Mai. For several weeks each year, air quality deteriorates. Visibility drops. The mountains fade behind a haze that lingers from morning until night. Outdoor activities become limited. Windows stay closed, masks return, life shifts inward. During this time, the city feels withdrawn. Streets empty earlier in the evening. Parks sit unused. Cafes that rely on outdoor seating lose their appeal. Tourism slows not because Chiang Mai stops functioning, but because the experience changes in ways that are hard to ignore. What's rarely discussed is how predictable this has become. Burning season isn't an anomaly anymore. It's part of the calendar. Businesses anticipate it, residents adapt. Those with the flexibility to leave often do. For some, that means a temporary relocation. a few weeks elsewhere, waiting for conditions to improve. For others, it means enduring the season quietly, adjusting routines and accepting the limitations. Either way, the city loses people, even if only briefly. This seasonal absence reinforces a sense of impermanence. Chiang Mai becomes a place many people love but hesitate to fully commit to year-round. Plans are made with an asterisk. Long-term decisions include exit options. The economic impact follows naturally. Businesses brace for slower months. Hiring pauses. Investment decisions are delayed. Tourism-dependent neighborhoods feel the quiet more sharply, especially those that rely on outdoor movement and foot traffic. Beyond the smoke, Chiang Mai also experiences other seasonal shifts. Rainy months slow construction and outdoor activity. Hot seasons push people indoors. The city's most comfortable periods feel narrower than they once did. None of this makes Chiang Mai unlivable. But it does make it cyclical in a way that shapes behavior. People come and go. Commitments are flexible. The population fluctuates. Over time, this rhythm affects how the city feels. It's harder to build momentum when large portions of the community are temporary. Not just tourists, but residents who treat the city as a seasonal base rather than a permanent home. What's striking is how little attention this receives in broader conversations. The city is still presented as stable, serene, and endlessly livable. The interruptions are rarely mentioned, but for those who experience Chiang Mai beyond a short stay, these seasons matter. They shape routines, expectations, and long-term choices. And in the quieter months, when the haze settles and the streets thin out, Chiang Mai reveals a side that feels less like a destination and more like a place waiting patiently for conditions to change. Chiang Mai is often discussed in extremes, either as a peaceful sanctuary that offers escape from faster cities or as a place that has somehow lost its way. In reality, it fits neatly into neither category. What Chiang Mai represents today is something quieter and harder to define. The city is in between versions of itself. The Chiang Mai many people remember, slower, cheaper, forgiving, and easy to settle into, still exists in fragments. It lives in morning markets, neighborhood temples, familiar street corners, and routines that haven't changed much in decades. That version of the city hasn't disappeared, but it no longer defines the whole experience. At the same time, a newer Chiang Mai is taking shape. One shaped by international attention, rising costs, development pressure, and changing travel patterns. This version is more structured, more selective, and less accidental. It rewards planning over improvisation. It asks more from those who want to stay. What makes this moment feel uncertain is that neither version has fully taken over. The old systems remain, but with less margin. The new ones exist, but without full momentum. The result is a city that functions, but doesn't always flow. For visitors, this in-between state can feel confusing. Chiang Mai still looks familiar. The highlights are still there, but something feels different, less spontaneous, less effortless. The city no longer absorbs people without friction. For residents, the adjustment runs deeper. Decisions that once felt easy now require calculation. Where to live, how long to stay, whether to commit long-term or keep options open. The city still offers quality of life, but it demands more awareness than it used to. None of this suggests decline in a dramatic sense. Chiang Mai hasn't collapsed, it hasn't emptied, and it hasn't lost its identity. What it has lost is certainty, the kind that comes from a clear direction and a stable pace of change. In many ways, Chiang Mai is experiencing the same tension as other cities that grew quickly under global attention. It must reconcile its local rhythms with external expectations. It must balance accessibility with sustainability, and it must decide who the city is truly built for. This side of Chiang Mai isn't often shown because it doesn't fit clean narratives. It's not picturesque enough to market and not alarming enough to headline. It exists in the space between memory and projection, but it's real. And for those who stay long enough, this version of Chiang Mai tells a more honest story, one of adjustment, recalibration, and quiet negotiation between what the city was, what it is, and what it may become next. That uncertainty isn't necessarily a weakness, it's a moment. And like many cities shaped by change, Chiang Mai is still deciding how it wants to move forward and who will be there when it does.